Oh, some scary things again last night. 60 million people in Italy now in lockdown. Big number. That's a massive number. And I mean, United States, you can see more things are happening. Yeah, there are things happening. But let's look at it. How can we, and it's always not nice to say take advantage of it, but we are having a heads up to prepare ourselves so much more better. So let's just look at some of the things. So in Italy, we saw 60 million people now under lockdown. So look at your situation. Ask yourself, if it should happen to us, how do you actually not get affected as much as what you should? So things are happening out there. But most importantly, do not panic. Panic is going to make you end up making mistakes. So we've said, hold on to your cash. Don't spend unnecessary. Don't do those renovations. Don't spend what you don't have to spend. Hold on to your money. Wait and see. Opportunities are going to be out there. Those things can always be bought, but cash is king at the moment. Secondly, work on your debt so that you don't have that amount of pressure. And the third thing is don't panic. We've said that. But a lot of it has to do with planning. And so many people that are just saying, it's not going to affect me. It doesn't bother me. But there is something that is going to affect you. And look at it and say to yourself, how am I going to take advantage of this situation? So if you're a businessman at this point in time, you should be communicating with your staff. You should allow your staff to know that you are monitoring the situation. No matter what happens, we're going to get through it. And that's important because people always turn at times like this to a person with strength. People look up to those people that they are working for. They look up to them to know that everything will be fine. And we have seen some companies all over the world doing some amazing things at the moment. How they've put systems in place for people to look after their children, working from home. So there are systems that have been put in place. And I mean, as a business, if it could affect you, you should be asking if your people are working from home, what are they going to do for printing? How are they going to work with the internet? So you should be looking at that type of things. Now, at the end of the day, it will cost you so much more money to start fixing up everything afterwards. So it's going to affect us. There's just no way to avoid that. I mean, it's going to. It's just a question of time. I mean, we've had so many little cases because we are not doing the amount of tests like are being done all over the world, like in Italy and that, and in Korea and in China. I mean, they are doing thousands and thousands of tests per day, which obviously, the information is coming out much quicker. I mean, we haven't got yet to that stage. And I mean, once we start doing the tests and once we start seeing more people infected, obviously that will create the unsurety, the panic. And, government will then have to take certain procedures and do certain things, and they'll have to take certain steps, obviously, to ensure the well-being of the population. And we are seeing what's happening abroad, and we need to work on it. So if you've got a business, communicate with your staff, see who your key players are so that you're not affected. You've got to make sure that if you start running low on stock, what is your game plan? How are you going to continue supplying to your people? Communicate to your people that if they need to, obviously, they want to take some days off personal time now and not later in the year. You can look at all those options. But I think as business owners, it is so important that people look up to you, that you are giving your staff the assurance that they need to know that everything will be okay and everything is going to come right. It's going to hit us. It's just a question of time when. But we will beat it. It's just a question of time and when. So everything will come right. But we're going to have to go through this stage, just like all the other countries. It would be very nice if it actually just went right past us, but that would be wishful thinking. As a person that is working from a salary, month to month, paycheck to paycheck, start communicating, look at your different options. Don't be caught off guard. I mean, we've seen in certain countries, what are they doing for salary people? Start communicating with your insurances, and big businesses also should be communicating with the insurance, communicating to understand how does the income protectors work, how does it affect your business, those type of things. Be careful also not to cut where it's unnecessary in forms of insurance, because sometimes crime in those areas do climb up because your business is closed and people know that those businesses are vulnerable for break-ins. So it's fine. We can look at the negative stuff, but we need to focus on the positiveness, because that's what's going to get us through. And we can look after our money and we can look after our debt and we can not panic, but the bottom line is we don't look after our health. All of that means nothing. And by not taking care of all these things affects our health. So, if you run out of money, your health gets affected because you start to panic. If you are in a situation now that you got too much debt and things are happening around you and you're seeing what's happening and you're affected with retrenchments, or your business can't focus because it can't get stock, your heart is pounding, it affects your health. And most importantly, when you panic, it also affects your health. So you've got to look after your health. And only way to look after your health is to know that you've done everything that you possibly can. You have taken the best precautions possible, and that is how you're going to look after your health. We will get through it. There's no doubt about that. But let's not be so gullible and say to ourselves that this will not affect me, because it will affect you in one way or another. It might just affect you with your groceries. I mean, that's it, But why let that happen to you? I mean, just take all the precautions and you're okay. You have the potential for greatness. You have the potential to put your mind to anything that you want to actually do. And remember, save your money, kill as much as debt, don't panic. But if you can't look after your health, it all means nothing at the end of the day. Because it seems like this virus preys on people's health. So if you're not looking after your health, then you become more vulnerable to this. And we have so many clever people out there that will give us the correct information and are guiding us all the time. And it's, the whole world's coming together on this. So we have a lot of knowledge around a table that is sorting this thing out. So allow the clever people to sort those problems out and give us the correct advice. And you sort out what you need to sort out from yourself. If you're a business owner, it is your responsibility to look after your people, to assure your people that you're on top of it. And you were blessed to become a leader in your business, or whatever the position is that people are looking after, up to you, and give that assurance that you're on top of it. And even if you're a salary person, maybe you're a parent, it is your duty to let your family know that everything will be all right and you are on top of it. So it's fine, we can listen to the negativity, and that's fine, but let's always end up with a positive answer at the end of the day. I always say, I don't mind the negative stuff, that's fine, but how do we end that conversation? And as long as there's an answer at the end of the day, and there will be an answer to this, and we will survive and we will get through it. But once again, I think it's always the clever people, and the clever people are people that actually say, I'm going to work on this. If it doesn't affect me, no harm, no foul, it's fine. So remember one last thing, and I'm seeing more and more of this, as we fight the coronavirus and the financial implications that it will eventually bring to us, there comes a new enemy out of the woodworks, and that are the people who prey and take advantage on people to invest monies, or tell you there's a quick buck to be made. Con artists. So you've got to be careful because this is the time when they come out of the woodwork because they know people are panicking. So be careful who you invest. Always do your homework, because they promise you the world, a lot of people, and they actually work on your emotions, and eventually you end up losing even more money, because that is what a lot of con artists do. They wait for times like this to take advantage of the situation. So do your homework, don't fall for it, and we will survive and we will win this fight one way or another. If you're enjoying these clips, please subscribe, put your comments there, and we're going to keep on bringing information, the best information that we possibly can, but we can see things are happening. I mean, first time we see this, well, for me, that Italy, 60 million people in a lockdown. I mean, these are massive steps. But I think we also need to understand there's reasoning behind that as well, because, at the end of the day, if everyone gets sick, where's everyone going to go? I mean, hospitals will eventually be at their max and they won't be able to cope. So there is obviously game plans behind this, and sometimes we don't understand them, and that's fine. I always just say, you know what, I'm going to let the clever people sort that out. I'm going to focus on myself. I'm going to focus on my family. I'm going to focus on my business, and I'm going to focus on what I do, and that is giving value to people. Cheers.